anybody that has ever listened to me talk in an interview will know that my main theory about what is going on in the world is nothing political or anything like that. My main theory about why everything is going so badly is because we've stopped listening to God. We've stopped believing in God. Because a few hundred years ago, everyone in this country believed in God, but now no one does, and things have dramatically changed. And this is where I believe things have gone wrong. We used to read the Bible, we used to pray to God, and we used to say, God, guide us. Now, nobody does that. Now, we've got our own ideas, we've got this technology, no one believes in God, and we're just going off in our own direction because we're so clever and incredible, and we don't need God, and people don't believe in God anymore. They think, listen, they look at themselves, and they look at other human beings on Love Island, and they think, wow, this is clearly the absolute pinnacle of intelligence in the universe. You know, there's no way that there's anything out there more intelligent than Love Island and Big Brother, and, you know, that's what they think. They think there's nothing above us anymore, and therefore we don't need to listen to God, and we're going to have our own ideas. And here's an 8-year-old boy, let's chop off his genitals and say that he's a girl, and anyone that's against that is a bad person, right? So that's where we've gone. And I think that nowhere is there a better example of this than with regards to pride. So our current society, what does our current society say about pride? Well, it says that, listen, if you have to just worship, we spend a whole month celebrating pride. For the whole month of June, you have to worship pride, and you have to cover yourselves in the symbol of pride. And if you're a parent, you have to take or a school teacher, you have to take your children, you have to just soak them in pride and cover them in pride, and just really sort of ram the idea that pride is just the greatest thing in the world ever. And every major corporation and every celebrity and all the cornerstones of our current society has to bow down and worship pride and change their logo to the pride system and just cover themselves in pride and just drink down this pride like it's like a can of cold Coca-Cola on a hot day. You just have to douse yourself in pride and get down and worship before pride, because pride is just the greatest thing in the world. There's these people out there and they take it in the arse and they're just so amazing, and pride is just the ultimate thing, and anyone that's against pride is just a terrible person according to today's society, and they should be shunned and outlawed. And any sort of Middle Eastern country, for example, that says that pride is a bad thing, we shouldn't be saying, oh my God, they're just the worst country in the world, and they're so opposite to every single country in the West, and you just have to be so for pride. Pride is so good for you. Oh, you just celebrate pride if you live in our nation these days, or anywhere in the Western civilization, which used to be Christian civilization, you know? And anyone that's against this agenda, anyone that stands up against it or says, you know, this is too much, you're just this evil person, you hate gays, and you just, it's not an accident that they've chosen pride as the name, and they've chosen pride as a direction for human beings to go in. If you live in our modern society, you have to get involved in pride. You have to put pride at the center of your universe, and we have to look up to pride, and we have to celebrate pride and worship pride and just live in pride. And if anyone is displaying like loads of pride about whatever disgusting sexual thing they do, you have to go, woo, yeah! Dress up like a cow, yeah! Fist the guy dressed as a bat. Woo! Here's a 5-year-old. Please, just get really close to that. I want you to really just sort of drink in the depravity. But because this person's proud of what they're doing, it's fantastic, and we'll make up our own ideas about what we should be proud about. For example, like, I have sex with 5 men dressed as animals every night. Oh, woo! Great. Oh, you should be so proud of that. You, as a human being, should make up whatever you want to do. Do as thou willst, and you should be proud of it, right? That's what our society says about pride. Let me ask you a question. What does God say about pride? Does God say that we should worship it and put it at the center of our lives? Maybe we should check, and maybe we should see how far away from what God says we should be have we become. How far away from God's light have we strayed? And can it possibly be an accident? Let's see. Okay, one of the first things God says about pride. Pride brings a person low, but the lowly in spirit gain honor. Pride brings a person low. So we're taught in today's society that pride is the most fantastic thing, and you should have pride, and it's great to have pride, but it seems like God says the opposite. God says that pride brings a person low. And when you look at people on the pride marches, half-naked, disgusting men, twerking in front of children, I think we all agree that you sort of look at that and you go, this is terrible, this is awful, this is really disgusting. And you have to say that what God is saying there seems to be true, doesn't it? You can see it with your own eyes. We have a saying that pride comes before a fall, and the reason that's a saying is because it's true, and you can see it, many examples of it. So God is telling us that pride is going to bring you down. It's going to make you low. It's bad for you. The opposite of what we're told. No, never guessed that would be the case. That we're being told the opposite of what God says for the whole month of June. But the lowly in spirit gain honor. The lowly in spirit gain honor. So what God would say to you is, be the opposite of pride. Be humble. Do you as a person find yourself drawn towards people that are arrogant and that are so full of themselves? If someone says to you, you're full of yourself and is that a good thing? It's not, is it? But if you show great humility, being humble is something to aspire to. And humility is the opposite of pride. And there's nothing that the people that love the pride movement can do about that. That's just a fact. Being humble is the opposite of being proud. And God is clearly telling us here that if you want to be proud, if you're going to be proud, it's going to bring you down. It's not going to bring you up. Proverbs 11:2, pride leads to disgrace, but with humility comes wisdom. Have you ever seen this in the month of June? People say, hey, the more you get involved with pride, the more you're going to be led to disgrace. Because when you're full of pride, you're putting yourself first. And you're saying that I'm proud of who I am and the thoughts that I have, and I am so magnificent that I am just going to be my own boss, and you're setting yourself up for disgrace. I know it all. I got this all coming. You're really leaning on your own understanding. But with humility comes wisdom. If you think I don't know it all and other people can teach me things, you tend to become wise. Whereas if you think I know it all, I got it all coming, then that leads to mishap and it leads to disgrace. So God is telling you, if you want to be successful, if you want to be wise, be humble. Go searching for something above you and learn from that. But today's society doesn't say that. Particularly to do with sexual preference. It says, hey, whatever you want to do, however disgustingly you want to behave around children in public, go for it. Go for it. Be full of pride. If you look at a lot of the behavior that's on these pride marches, you'd have to say it's pretty disgraceful. Like drag queen story time, exposing yourself in front of children. Seems to me that God's right here, and pride does lead to disgrace. And when you talk to people that are humble, that are full of humility, you often find that they're wise. Isn't it interesting that, again, God seems to be saying the opposite of what we say about pride? Almost as though the agenda that's being pushed on you is anti-God, isn't it? When you really look at what God says about pride. Number 3. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. Don't these things just happen to relate to our relationship with pride as a society now? We celebrate the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life. We celebrate these things like they're amazing. But what God is telling us is that that stuff doesn't come from God. Doesn't come from God. Lust of the eyes and lust of the flesh, those things that we celebrate and woo, this guy's dressed like a sexual freak around kids. Woo! This has got nothing to do with God. It's nothing to do how you were wonderfully made to lust of the flesh and lust of the eyes. This is from the world. And this world we live in is fallen and it's evil. So when we celebrate the lust of our flesh and the lust of our eyes and the pride of life, we're celebrating what is of the enemy, what is of the devil, what is evil. And that's why you're seeing these pride marches degenerate into stuff that's just plain evil. Old men exposing themselves to children. This is evil. Because it's of the world, it's not of God. You know, you're doing the opposite of what God intended for you when you celebrate pride and when you celebrate lust of the eyes and of the flesh. Interesting, isn't it? That so much of this pride movement it's not just not exactly what God tells you to do, it's the absolute polar opposite. How interesting. Isaiah 2:12. For the Lord of hosts has a day against all that is proud and lofty, against all that is lifted up, and it shall be brought low. I think it's interesting to take some prophecy from the Old Testament and sort of contrast that against, you know, our modern society tells us that pride is fantastic, and the more proud you are, the better things are going to go for you, and it's going to be so good for you to be proud. But God tells us that he is against all that is proud, and he has a day against all that is proud, and everyone who is proud in their own sight will be brought low. I don't think most people realize how anti-God an agenda of promoting pride is. God literally tells you, if you're proud and you're so proud and you're going to be proud, that God is against you and he will bring you down. And finally, Proverbs 8:13. The fear of the Lord is to hate evil, pride and arrogance and the evil way and the perverse mouth I hate. So God is telling us that he hates pride. And what a surprise. Today, we're organizing our whole society around the celebration of pride. Pride is so good. It's Pride Month. A whole month dedicated to something that God hates. Above all other sins, God hates pride. Because pride is the root of all sin is pride. Because if you are humble and you come to God and you ask God to teach you his ways and you want to learn from God, then you can't really go wrong. But if you're prideful and you think that you know best and etc., you don't want to believe in God because you've got technology and everything, then before you know it, you know, you're 65 years old, revealing yourselves to children, you know, at a pride parade, and everyone's going, woo, this is fantastic. So there you go. We're living in an opposite way to what God wants. And looking at what God says about pride and what our society says about pride is, I believe, a very good example of that. If you would like to support the channel financially, link in description. You got Subscribestar, you got Locals. We really, really can't keep going unless people do support us, and you guys are. So, you know, if you do want to check them out, I would really appreciate it. Each supporter means the world to me. So thanks a lot, guys, and yeah, see you in the next one.